So if we want to get leads more automatically and we want to make it much easier for us to actually nurture those leads, then what we really want to get is we want to have a sales funnel, right? And this sales funnel really, especially for LinkedIn wise, want to be able to do a few things, right? We want to make sure that we can actually nurture those leads more automatically. So that's just sort of something that actually happens just almost over time. We want to make sure that we can actually take them off the platform, right? Because the issue is with LinkedIn, as good as LinkedIn is, whenever people are scrolling through their feed, there's so many posts that are going to appear, and the odds of it being your post is really quite slim. And like, given the amount of the audience you have, right? If you really think about it. So if you can take them off the platform and you can take them to, say, it might be a newsletter or maybe to a video, whether that be on, say, YouTube or maybe even a podcast of yours, this stuff right here is obviously really going to help you to be able to nurture them. So when we're trying to think of a sales funnel, obviously we want to make this more of an automatic process. So the first thing I like to think about when I'm trying to build a bit of a funnel to make this a bit more automated is I like to think about, okay, well, what's the first easy step that someone can take to, say, get off the platform and to learn more about me, right? Because obviously, I've got my LinkedIn profile here. Um, and obviously say like the headline here and whatever. Like what I'll tend to find is that the best thing to do is to make sure I have a lead magnet, because a lead magnet is going to obviously help people, they can sign up to my email list and they get something. They get something. The only issue is when you have people that just say, hey, sign up to my newsletter, if they're not getting anything in return immediately, then a lot of the time, unless you've got really good credibility, they're probably not going to sign up. So I usually like to propose a lead magnet, whether this be in, say, your actual link in bio over here, or maybe say somewhere further down in the feature section below, or even both. And the reason why is that what you want to do that this lead magnet obviously wants to be really desirable. You want to make sure this lead magnet is something that people want. If you can get social proof in there, such as like it being a case study, that's even better. But if you don't have a crazy amount of social proof, just have a lead magnet, aka a resource that is going to help solve one of your ideal clients' problems. Doesn't have to be a super big one, but if it can at least solve one of them, then that can actually give people the confidence that you can help them solve another problem. And obviously, especially in the nurturing stage, we want to be able to do that. So, for example, right, how would this sales funnel even work, right? So, let's say people are coming from your content, they're coming from, say, your comments as well. And then maybe they might be, say, coming from just maybe directly your profile, right? Potentially. Um, and what you're going to find is that obviously, or at least from the content and the comments, right, these people are going to be going straight to your profile. And what it means is that there, when they're at your profile, you really want to be able to try and push them to, get them off the platform. You want to try and actually nurture them further without you having to manually do it. So in this case, I'd usually like to direct people from my profile to my lead magnet, which I'll usually have, say, whether it be my link in bio or my featured section. And then from here, when they've got the lead magnet, they can then be taken through an email sequence. And this email sequence is obviously going to then be able to do more nurturing for me. So I might have an email sequence with, say, 3 emails or maybe even 5. Doesn't really matter. I mean, I would really play around with it, but probably 3 to 5 emails, an automatic thing is really going to be able to help. And with these emails, you could direct them to other resources or maybe other videos and stuff you have. I know for me, I've got my own sort of YouTube and I'm in the process of getting more serious with my podcast. But what I can do is that, like maybe in these emails, I might actually direct people over to my YouTube. And what that's going to do is that's going to obviously, that's all automatic. Once I've set it up, it's doing that for me. It introduces them to more pieces of my content. And the thing is that if your content is good and you introduce your ideal clients to more of it in different types as well, right? Your LinkedIn content, say video content like YouTube content, or maybe even podcast or email stuff, that's all content, assuming it's valuable, that's all going to nurture them as well. And this is going to do one of two things, right? So, one of the things that this can do is obviously the very desirable thing is that this person then actually reaches out to you. So, this person reaches out to you and sends you a sort of like a message, and then obviously from there you can then sort of respond to that as well and go back and forth. That's the desirable thing. However, a lot of the time that's not going to happen, and what you need to do is you need to make the first move. And so I find that what you can do as well is, so for example, if say they've signed up to your email list, if they've actually been on your email list for a long time or whatever, you could either do a few things, right? One of the things you could do is you could send your whole email list I suppose, almost like a promotion email. But really just, really promoting your offer, right? You could be super direct and be like, hey, I'm looking for this amount of people that want to achieve this result. Are you interested? Right? And that's obviously one way you can do it. And if they've been nurtured quite a bit, that could be the way for you for them to be like, yeah, sure. Right. And a lot of the time people feel like they're being too pushy with offering. You don't need to feel this way. And I would argue that being able to like promote your offer more is going to help you more. You're not going to come across as pushy, and people that find that you're pushy a lot of the times probably weren't really interested in what you had to offer anyway, so it's not a negative. A second thing you can do is, let's say there's like a few people that have been on your list for a while, maybe they've got loads of your emails. You could actually just send them a direct email, or if you have their LinkedIn as well, which obviously when they're signing up, you could even try to get that as well, then you could send them a direct email or LinkedIn message and you talk about it, because that's obviously helping you nurture it. And obviously, I sort of find that this is really going to help because, especially with the emails, right? I mean, for an email list, I usually look to maybe send at least a weekly email, so like to my newsletter. But even with the automated emails and such, you're still going to get a nice benefit from being able to nurture them in that process, right? It's all done for you. They've literally, they've come from your content or your comments, and they've gone to your profile. They've then gone to, say, your lead magnet, and then from there, they're then taken into let's say, a 5-step email sequence. And then maybe at the end of that, potentially the fifth email is a promotion email. Um, and then say that then pushes to booking a call with you or something. But all of this can be done obviously automatically. And this is the idea of a sales funnel. You don't want to be doing all this stuff manually. Now, yes, in the early stages, you do want to make sure you are pushing out the content. You do want to make sure that you are actually doing lots of DMs, right? This is going to be really important stuff for you to be doing. And that being said, if you DM people, you have conversation with people, maybe in the DMs, you actually link them to your lead magnet, right? Maybe you chat with someone and they've expressed a problem and you're like, I've actually got a resource on that. Send that to them. All of a sudden, they're now here and they go through this stage and they go on to the next one, so on and so forth. So just because they haven't said yes yet or they haven't shown interest yet doesn't mean you can't do that. And obviously, like I said, right, someone can go through this whole process and they might not book a call. That's okay, because well, you'll find that they're at least a lot more nurtured. And then from here, maybe you're doing weekly emails further and like further and so on and so forth. But you get the idea. And I find that if you can set this up to some degree, now this doesn't have to be crazy. I'm not saying you need an email list, a YouTube, a podcast, or whatever. But what I'm saying is if you can have a second channel which is different from LinkedIn, so what I would recommend is an email newsletter, then this is obviously going to really be able to help in terms of that nurturing process. And I would recommend, at least in this sort of funnel process, you can do it like that. And then from there, I mean, if you were to also take the YouTube route, all I do really with my YouTube content, which I do pretty much weekly, I might do a bit more, is literally I will take my email newsletter and I will simply use that as almost just like a script for my YouTube videos. That's literally it. I mean, it's a thing, I mean, it's an idea that obviously I got from Danco, but it's very simple to do and it's nothing that's too crazy. I mean, this is really what's helped me with this video. But overall, this is the video in terms of actually being able to use the sales funnel with LinkedIn designing it. I honestly wouldn't go too crazy with this. I think it just has to be simple, but I think having a different channel is really going to be able to help just nurture that process and gives you another opportunity to actually almost promote to people rather than just on LinkedIn. Because, like I said before, there's so much noise on LinkedIn, which can be taken in both good and bad ways. And sometimes it's so useful to take that noise away and actually push them to something that you almost own a bit more. That being said, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you soon.